Hello and welcome to In This Corner. I'm James Smith. 40 years ago, a down-and-out club fighter from Philadelphia was granted a shot at the heavyweight championship of the world against the then dynamic champion, Apollo Creed. This tremendous underdog's name was Rocky Balboa. The big screen legend that is Rocky had begun. 40 years and 6 sequels later, Rocky is back, this time fighting an altogether different type of battle, but nearly as daunting, now as a trainer for a young, unpolished prize fighter who happens to be Apollo Creed's son Adonis, and although his father died before he was born, the fighting spirit has passed on, as you'll see in this latest Rocky installment coming to the big screen November 25th, called Creed.
He's right over here. We had to separate him. He was fighting with the other inmates.
Hey, Donnie. Your father was a great man to me.
I don't know him. Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Well, I think you could be great too.
So what made you want to fight?
My pop was a fighter. Died before I was born. Bounced around foster care, in and out of juvie. I've been fighting my whole life. It's not a choice for me.
You see this guy here staring back at you? That's your toughest opponent.
Who's next?
I believe that's true in the ring, and I think that's true in life.
So you're gonna leave me too? You know how many times I had to carry the heavyweight champion of the world up these stairs because he couldn't walk? Ribs broken, nose broken, eyes swollen shut.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of taking on the name and losing. Call me a fraud.
You're still caught in the shadow.
Every move that I make, every punch that I throw, everything's gonna be compared to him.
You are Apollo Creed's son, so use the name. It's yours.
This kid's been nowhere. He's never faced nobody. You don't know nothing about me. You a false Creed.
You do this, you're going into a storm.
What's wrong with you?
Hey, somebody help!
Rocky's sick.
I found life in the darkest of times.
If I break, I ain't gonna fix it.
I found life.
Everything I got is moved on, and I'm here.
You're sitting there crying about nobody's around for you. I'm here for you every day. I'm standing right in front of you. Just like any other fight. So if I fight, you fight.
I found life on this planet. Damn it, I've been damaged, but I can manage. I won't take this for granted.
Bring back everything that's ever hurt you. All the pain you had inside. They don't know what we've been through. You belong here.
I found life.
You should be able to grab one of these birds.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Chickens are slowing down.
Michael B. Jordan.
What's up?
You know, I had the opportunity to see the movie last night, and we'll talk about your pugilism in just a moment. You did a good job. You roughed up my friend Andre Ward a little bit. When was the first time you ever saw Rocky?
First time I saw Rocky was probably like my freshman, sophomore year of high school, somewhere around there. And I just thought it was super inspiring. A great underdog story. This guy, you know, this regular guy who had these huge aspirations, huge dreams, and how he kind of like struggled and overcame these obstacles and relied on his friends and family to achieve his dreams.
I want to go back 40 years, 1976, when Rocky first came out. And what were you thinking about? What was your feeling then before you made the movie? I know you've talked a little bit about the inspiration and different fights and but what was it inside of you that really inspired you to write this movie? Because I think it was a lot about you and what you were feeling.
It was kind of like desperation. I think all of us, you know, we get to a certain age and things aren't happening, and you realize there's no reverse, there's no going back. You just can't turn the clock back to you're 8 years old again, and there's a kind of frustration. And I think I was writing about a character who had accepted, at least to the naked eye, that he's a failure, that he's a loser, he's been abandoned, he has no one. And all it takes is a little bit of association with love, with friendship, somebody caring, and you begin to blossom. So these were just my fantasies that I wish would happen. And I said, let me just put it into the body of a boxer, because I felt actors in a lot of ways don't connect the same way an athlete does with an audience. They say, oh, actor, that's kind of like very esoteric. But an athlete, you realize that clock is running on him, and the fear factor and all the different components, especially goes into boxing, which is the most difficult of sports.
This was taken from the 10th round of the first fight, right?
Good call. How'd you know that?
I heard about a third fight between you and Apollo. Behind closed doors. That true?
How'd you hear about that?
Who won?
It's kind of a secret. What'd you say your name was?
Don.
Okay. Well, the girl said you wanted to talk about something?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about training me.
Training? I don't do that stuff no more. Sorry about that. Listen, it's getting kind of late, kid, so I'm gonna close up.
How good was he?
Apollo? Yeah, he's great. He's a perfect fighter. Ain't nobody ever better.
So how'd you beat him?
Time beat him. Time, takes everybody out. It's undefeated. Anyway, I gotta lock up.
So when Mickey died, he came and talked to you, right? Talked you out of quitting, took you to LA, trained you, brought you back.
How do you know all this?
How do you think?
What are you, like a cousin?
He's my father.
The idea of it came from a very personal situation with me and my father. My dad was a big Rocky fan, and I watched the films with him. And then he got sick right around the time I was getting ready to make Fruitvale, and that's when I kind of came up with the idea. So I came up with the idea, wrote a treatment up, and because I was working on Fruitvale at the time, I hit my buddy Aaron, who I went to film school with, and said, "Hey man, would you want to write this with me?" And he was like, "Yeah, for sure." So we got to work on it. Shortly after getting done with Fruitvale, and I pitched it to Sly before making Fruitvale, and he was apprehensive at the time. But right around the time the movie came out, and we talked some more and more about it. He said it was good. We got a greenlit from the studio to go ahead and get started writing the script, and the process was great, man. Aaron moved up to the Bay Area with me. We lived together, and we kind of knocked out the first draft, which was really long. You know what I mean? We sent it off to. We sent it off to the studio, sent it off to Sly, and they both were encouraging. So we kept working it all the way up until the time that we were shooting it.
I mean, what I look like? Letting you train me while you sit around and die. Just like any other fight.
This fight, I've seen it before. It gets as bad as it can get. And most of the time, you don't win it.
But I don't care. I ain't training if you don't get the treatment. So if I fight, you fight. It's a very personal sport, it's very one-on-one, in the ring. And then you realize that, these guys have an entire sports system, to kind of, push them, to motivate them, and to inspire them to kind of get out of that ring. I think, especially the technicality and physicality of it is very personal. So I think a lot of people, feel very close to these fighters, even as an audience watching, delivering the blows, it's very in your face, and like I said, it's very personal. So I think people gravitate towards it because they have that connection to it.
Boxing, being an actor in a boxing movie is kind of a rite of passage for a lot of actors. You can look down the line of great boxing films and great performances that went along with them, and you're able to grow so much because of both the emotional requirements and the physical requirements that you kind of got to go through.
From a 4-round club fighter to a 15-round all-time great, there's something that your movies, the Rocky series, connects, and all the fighters love it. So is there an underdog even in the 15-round great fighter? There must be something inside.
I think there is. I think there's a sense of I don't know if it's insecurity that, like the fear. They're running on the fear. Remember Customato was always talking about the fear? Because I think it's always there. I don't care how much bravado they're terrified. Their heart is pounding out of their chest. This is the most nakedly brutal sport there is for exposing one's manhood, you know what I mean? And it's identifiable. Then when you realize that, like Rocky, he was, what was that famous quote that Glenn Johnson said, "I'm not a great fighter, I fight great fighters." Yeah. That's his life, and he accepted that. And it's like an actor going, "I'm not a great actor, I'm good supporting other great actors." And it's something very endearing when a person knows he can't win, but I just want to go the distance. And I think people, everyone in this room, everyone in life just wants a chance. They may fail, but give me a chance to let's show you my stuff. And I think it's a frustrating factor that maybe the people that go see Creed will also identify with. This is why it's such an interesting experiment. Do people have the same kind of wants and needs today that they had in the 70s? Because there was a big transitional thing in the 70s. It was very pessimistic, and then, boom, we're coming out of Vietnam.
No reality shows, no Kardashians.
None. And now we're coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan. There's that same kind of Vietnam disenchantment feel. And do these millennials have the same kind of longing and frustration that life is not what it's cracked up to be? You know, I mean, is there ever going to be a light at the tunnel? So I want to see if Michael B. Jordan, the character of Creed, speaks to the youth of today. You know, I don't even know what I'm doing here because I got other plans in my life and this wasn't part of it. Your father was special. To tell you the truth, I don't know if you're special. Only you're going to know that when the time is right. And it ain't going to come overnight. You're going to take a beat, you're going to take this, you're going to get knocked out, you're going to get up, and you're going to see if you got the right thing. But you got to work hard. I swear to God, if you're not going to do it, I'm out.
Like every punch I ever thrown has been on my own. Nobody showed me how to do this. I'm ready.
Skill set. I enjoyed watching your movement, your gait, your parrying, what was the most difficult thing for you to pick up in boxing?
I think the hardest thing for me in boxing to kind of like pick up on was, I think it was like fully extending my punches. I think, sometimes when, as acting, and you're not really fighting, but you want to throw with the intent to hit. But, we're filming, so you can't really extend the way you want to extend or you're supposed to, but just worried about punch placement. I think that was kind of like one of the hardest. Exactly, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that was one of the hardest things for me to kind of pick up on. Got a chance to work out with Andre Ward, spar with him. He beat me up pretty bad, and his trainer Virgil, and then I got a chance to work out. Americano was in the gym, Gabe Rosado, Tony Bellew, Rob Sally, Corey Callier, Stitch, Johnny I, just everybody. They surrounded me with some of the greatest, boxing minds in the sport today. So I was just a sponge. I just soaked it up, and I wanted to be trained like a fighter, not an actor. I didn't want any special treatment. I wanted to go to the small, rough gyms. I didn't want to go to the fancy this and the fancy that. I wanted to be, treated like a fighter. Exactly. So I did the work.
Ryan Coogler, who's a screenwriter and producer, he signed me up to do it. We come from the same area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was just a tremendous thing to be a part of. My name in the movie is Danny Stuntman Wheeler, and it's just a tremendous event. And Michael B. Jordan, man, he did a great job of not only transforming his body, but taking the time to learn the sport. And this is going to be an authentic movie that not only casual fans, but boxing fans alike can enjoy.
Hey, listen up.
Adonis.
These are the keys to my Mustang right here. All you gotta do is land one clean headshot.
Yeah, I just need one round, bro.
You wanna warm up?
I don't need no warm up. Get my stuff.
I see you got your head on. Good job. Show me something.
All right.
I met Andre through my buddy Ephraim Walker in Oakland, and he offered up his gym, offered up Virgil, to Mike, and Mike came up, from Los Angeles and hung out with us in Oakland, quite a few times and spent time with Andre, not only going through their choreography for their scenes together, but also kind of working with Virgil and learning how how to move and how to fight, and just the confidence that comes with jumping in a little sparring session with Andre Ward for a couple rounds.
Saw Sly one day because you shoot at different times, and my last day of shooting was his first day, and I don't get starstruck too often, but we're in the middle of shooting and Sly kind of walks in and I'm like, oh boy, this is Sly, and I kind of stop and he's like, hey, can I say something? And we're like, of course. Like, so he gives us a few pointers, sits there and watches us to make sure we're doing it, and then he leaves. And I was just like, man, that's what it feels like to be in a bona fide superstar's presence. The aura's there, the shine is there, but he's also a tremendously nice gentleman, a nice person. So again, big shout out to him, and he did a phenomenal job. Not that you would expect anything less in this movie. He did a phenomenal job.
The only other time he was starstruck like that was the first time when he met Smitty.
True story. No, that's a true story.
The great Andre Ward.
I've worked quite a few times with Sly in a few Rocky movies. They even have an action figure of Michael Buffer from doing the Rocky movies. And the thing I like about Sly, and I've known him 30 years, but really personally for 25 years or so. To see him in this stage of his life, at one point we were both single and kind of like, hung out together and went to the clubs and that sort of thing. But, he's just happy in his own skin with a beautiful wife, Flavia, and their 3 daughters. And it's a great time of life for him. And it's a pleasure to be around him. One thing that I really enjoyed was Rocky Balboa was the last one we made before this. And when I got my lines, I contacted the person that sent them to me, and you always have production assistants and I just said, well, tell Sly that there's a few things here that I should change because it's not what I say. And they were like almost panicky, like, who's this guy? And of course, nobody ever did anything. And when I got there, first thing I did was I said to Sylvester, how about if I say this, this, and this? And he just said, hey, you say whatever you say. You do what you got to do. Just write it down and tell them. And so that's what I did. Same with this movie, too.
Fighters hate to give it up, and you've been such a great action character. Is it tough for you, aging?
Oh, I hate to give it up.
Is it tough for you, aging?
Oh, God. It's definitely not worth it. And when people say act your age, I go, why? What's the upside of that? So every day I try to become a little bit less mature.
It's okay. Take deep breath. Bring it on. Deep breath. Deep breath. Look at me. I like what you're doing out there. All right? You're a little tight. You're gonna loosen up. All right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to throw your left under the radar. Then when you come up with a shovel hook, you're gonna see an opening. Put it right on his chin. That'll drop him.
Mouthpiece in, seconds out.
Your old man did that to me. It worked.
Mouthpiece in, seconds out. Finish it out.
With the world today and reality TV and the immediacy and the Kardashian world that we live in today, I think this is so cool, though, because now it'll bring a whole new generation of people to Rocky, and the theme of Rocky, hard work and dedication, and that everything doesn't come so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's about it's about that kind of perseverance, man, and the story of Rocky very much mirrors Sly's own personal, professional journey. This idea of working really hard and not really getting a break, but getting that one shot and really seizing it, and then making a career for himself, out of it with his own hard work. I think those ideas, man, like they really relate to you and to the sport of to athletics, but they also relate to life so much. So I'm really excited to maybe make something that point people back to that and have a story now that kind of relates to what we're going through, in this day and age.
Well, I feel like, this is definitely, a film that can re-inspire the youth and, in the sport of boxing and anything that they want to do. The fact that they can, look at something and see that they can achieve their dreams, they can overcome odds no matter what the circumstances or where they come from. And I think that's very important today when there isn't that many, creative examples of that, on television and film. So I think this is something fresh and new, and I think, the kids will definitely, and this is all, I think everybody can relate to something in this film, a theme in this film, and, connect to it in some type of way.
This movie is not an action film. It goes counter-programming compared to what's out there. You know what I mean? It's very tent-pole-ish, formulaic, and this one is a throwback. And that's why I'm saying, God, can a throwback work today with the music changing, of course, and the attitude of the characters, but the ideals are very similar.
An icon of the big screen and also a member of the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I was there in 2011.
Oh, that was so humbling. Greatest athletes in the world, but more than that, they are our connection to the past and our way to the future. They are the guys that go there and take the blows and show that if you really put it out there on the line, you are a champion. You may not be the champion of the world, but you'll be the champion of your life. And yo, Adrian, I did it!
Great to see you again, my friend.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
So why does Hollywood love boxing so much? There's something visceral about this sport. It's in our DNA. I call fighters the most common and uncommon of all athletes. Boxing is both an obsession and a reminder, having to do with a fighter's ability to both survive and defend himself against the savages lurking within, and to eventually best himself and them. Once again, we saw that demonstrated on the big screen with Rocky and Adonis Creed. In this corner wants to thank Director Ryan Coogler, Adonis Creed Michael B. Jordan, ring announcer extraordinaire Michael Buffer, world champion Andre Ward, and of course, Rocky Balboa himself, Sylvester Stallone. Make sure to go check out Creed, opening November 25th at a theater near you.